Gourmet to the Stars, Scene 14. Back at Gelasius' place. Characters: Lory Gato, Choncuris. Hey, this is... At Xenoarchaeologist Gelasia, I was going to add, but the gyro bike shot off. I hadn't even paid. What did I do now? That was answered quickly. A small rotating gaseous cloud headed for me. It was Choncuris, or at least I guessed it was. Who could tell the difference between such creatures? Lory Gato, welcome. I must apologise for this misdirection in your affairs. I realised with a shock that Choncuris wasn't speaking Pan. He, she, it, whatever, was talking in English. Lassie had used Sir. Sir it was. Ooh, hi. You have in your possession a message from Seed, yes? Before you answer, let me suggest, before you use it, you allow me to examine it. Why? And how? Choncuris looked pretty gaseous to me. I saw little evidence of anything physical that could pick up or touch. I pulled out the message from my pocket, a sliver of plastic-like material, and studied it. In the late afternoon light of Tanegi 36's sun, it looked little different from any other sliver of plastic. I looked at Havel 71, a dim, dull orange ball, close to hidden by buildings. Its shine was attenuated by the atmospheric shield about the base. A small gleam of light sparked along the sliver of my message. It vanished. I held it out. I was still in two minds about opening the thing anyway, having half an eye on delaying my expected reassignment. A small coil of greenish colour firmed into an arm, little more than a child's in size. Choncuris reached to the message. The hand, although wispy, took it. The touch set off tiny jolts in my fingers. Watch. I looked bemused. The spark of light returned. Fire writhed on thin plastic edges. A trick of the light? What's that? I asked. It's safe, while it's in there. The thing is this, Mr. Lory Gato. This has been tampered with. You have a message with payload. It needs to be discharged before you read. I looked at it. Suspicious, not certain. I wasn't ready to be convinced. On the other hand, I didn't actually want to open the message. When that happened, receipt was acknowledged, and I'd have to follow its instructions. I decided to play along. I'd nothing to lose, and you never knew. So, I paused. This creature, whatever it was, didn't need to know my logic. What do you propose? Come, you need not stand in the street. I followed Choncuris to the building. A static design on the outer wall bent. A small alcove formed about us. It sealed. A soft radiance swelled above us. We weren't outside anymore. What's going on? Here. A second small limb, smooth like a child's, appeared, holding a small instrument. Take it. It won't bite. It looked like a small handheld microscope. I took it and turned it over. This was nothing like my key. Like all keys, mine had an indentation into which messages fit. Slide it in and the plastic strip became a mini screen to play the message. So what's this for? Is it a microscope? Think of it as a viewer, something to view extra baggage. You understand? Oh. Here. Choncuris returned my message chip. I stuck it in the device and held the eyepiece close. The outlines of the plastic were magnified. It took me a second to adjust to what I was seeing. The surface, normally an opaque peachy yellow, was rendered translucent. Inside, glowing forms writhed. What's this? I demanded. Had Choncuris done something to my message? Normal messages show up as stable grids of light. I peered into the gadget. The flowing movement looked like a strange runic glyph. They made it difficult to pick out the grid. "I can almost see it," I mumbled. "While it's possible to camouflage payload, anything sophisticated leaves certain traces." I didn't know about that, so I just ignored the words. My eyes squinted without luck. "I'm still trying to make out the grid," I puzzled. "What do you see? Anything else?" "Not sure." I lifted my head and tried to pass the gadget back, but both hands backed away, refusing it. "No, describe what you see." I put it back to my eye and peered. What was I looking at? "It's just moving shapes," I half cursed. "I can't see no grid." "Looks like it's got payload." "What?" "Pass it me now. It needs to be purged." Trunkerist pushed a tenuous hand back out. I took the sliver of plastic from the gadget and passed it over. "What will you do?" "Watch." The other hand reappeared from the kaleidoscope of smoke, holding a screwdriver-shaped tool. It moved close to the plastic, and a spark arced from my plastic message to the tool. My heart leapt into my mouth. "Wait, what are you doing?" The words stayed stillborn on my tongue. Did I really want to know? If the reassignment I was expecting from Seed was quashed, so what? If their message was about something else, they would get onto it. In due course. After all, I only needed to be here another day. Could anything happen in less than 24 hours, too hot for me to handle? There were a few problems I couldn't talk my way out of. Just keep my profile low. Sometimes a flow of fate feels the right answer. Should it do that? "What's on this is complex. It can protect itself. Once on your key, it would, well, let's say you would be marked." "Marked? How?" "A location tracker for certain. A logic bomb, perhaps." Hello. I better pause this. Thanks. I'll be there out in a sec. "A logic bomb, perhaps. Sticking this..." Oh, nonsense. I'll give this another go. "A logic bomb, perhaps. Sticking this in your key would activate whatever's there." I felt a shot of fear. Perhaps this wasn't made up. Those Earthers had mentioned providing location information, and now that I thought about it, the assistant clerk hardly seemed an innocent party in all this. How would it protect itself? Self-destructive, tampered with. You mean purge and reset? I knew about that. A standard function of keys. Tampered with, the data was wiped clean. Could that be triggered by a program? No, I mean self-destruct. My thoughts stalled. How? It's clandestine. You need to know that because... Because what? If you want to pursue your aborted visit with Miss Lacia, I must neutralize the payload. A procedure which shouldn't affect your message. Now, wait a minute, I began, drawing on my small well of indignation. If this is not agreeable, the smoke-shaped creature continued, overriding my words, you will not be permitted to visit Miss Lacia again. We will go our separate ways. The matter will be closed. But why? The protection of Miss Lacia is sufficient reason. Come now, make an answer. Do what you must. It was only plastic. In a way, it was a comforting thought that I left my key at my lodgings. It could stay there for the time being, at least until this was sorted, which also included making some apology to Gilacia. I smiled a wry smile inside. Even though John Chris, in speaking English, named her Miss Lacia, it was hard to think of her as anything but Giz. Both screwdrivers' shaped tool and my message disappeared from view. A few seconds later, the plastic reappeared. Held next to it was something familiar. Hey, is that my key? John Chris's words became considered. It was necessary, and ensured you did not acquire unwanted payload. This stratagem has been tried before. Were you to use it, but you haven't. As a visitor, you should not be involved, but that makes you a perfect conduit for harm. I was amazed at this. Why would I harm anyone? I wouldn't harm. A tool has no choice how it is used. You haven't played the message, which means the payload was undelivered. Electronic fingerprints left by other hands were undisturbed. They are now safely away from you. No tracking, no harm. You are now free to visit Miss Lacia, take your key and a message. They now function only as intended. I ask your understanding. The message could go hang for all I cared. I was more bothered about my key. Yet I had to admit it seemed to stack up, and even a key was replaceable. I toyed with calling on my Sunday best suspicious manner. The trouble is, with wandering the stars, you really do learn to be affable. Time for a change of subject. Is Jill Lacia well disposed to my return? Miss Lacia, John Chris corrected. Why are we using English? Is as you left her. It would be unhelpful if you were to repeat our discussion beyond us two. Suspicion breeds on itself. Now I suggest you have bridges to mend. I pocketed message and key. I'd read it later. John Chris said, Wait here a moment. The gaseous ball accelerated to the alcove wall and merged into it, disappearing without a trace. I waited. Where was the exit? I moved, and the alcove surrounds faded. It had been almost warm for a minute. Now the cold invaded my shirt. I was outside again, so I looked around. The shadows of the building were darker. I could barely make out the intricate design on the walls. Stop that one.